Thailand has begun using a birth control vaccine on elephants in the wild to try curb a growing problem where human and animal populations encroach on each other. They say the problem has increased as farms spread into forests and elephants squeezed in their natural habitat come into contact and clash with humans while searching for food. Official figures say wild elephants killed 30 people last year and injured 29. Thai veterinarians tested the vaccine on 7 domesticated elephants over 2 years, before giving shots to 3 wild elephants in Trat province in late January. The vaccine blocks pregnancy for about 7 years.
The devastation stretches several miles. Drone footage shared by Madagascar's National Disaster Office shows the destruction wreaked on the country's second-largest city, Tuamasina, after a powerful cyclone made landfall on Tuesday. Cyclone Gizani made landfall in Madagascar's eastern coastal city, bringing winds that reached 250 kilometers per hour. Updating its tolls as assessments progressed, the National Disaster Office said it had recorded 38 deaths, while 6 people remained missing and at least 374 were injured. More than 12,000 people were displaced, the agency said. Madagascar's junta leader called for international solidarity, saying on Wednesday the cyclone had ravaged up to 75% of Tuamasina. Residents dug through piles of debris, planks and corrugated metal to repair their makeshift homes. The main road linking the city to the capital, Antananarivo, was cut off in several places, disrupting communications.
About all of the reaction to this.
Yeah, the reaction happened almost immediately after the ad ran, and you're going to see what they said about the backlash. But with the cost of a Super Bowl ad roughly at about $8 million this year, for Ring, the cost may end up being a little bit higher.
This morning, it's the Super Bowl ad sparking controversy. The home security company Ring promoting a feature that scans footage from Ring cameras in your neighborhood, the ad said, to find lost dogs. Some people online questioning if the feature could also be used to search for people. Critics vowing to stop using the company's products altogether.
As of today, I no longer use Ring Doorbell.
Rival security camera company Wise even made a parody of the ad.
What if we could make finding one lost dog require the computational power of a small dictator-led nation state?
But Ring says the feature was built, quote, with strong privacy protections from the start, saying it can find only lost dogs and has no capability to find people. Ring also says users can opt out of the feature.
This is a privacy-first way of doing things, but it also allows us to, be better neighbors. My mission has always been to make neighborhoods safer.
Ring users also expressing concerns about the Amazon-owned company's partnership with Flock Safety, a surveillance technology company. A company that has contracts with law enforcement to use its automated license plate readers.
And Ring yesterday severed its partnership with Flock, saying, quote, no videos were shared with the company, end of quote. Flock saying it has engaged with customers to, again, a quote, understand expectations around accountability, transparency, and lawful use. That's the end of their quote. But this discussion is likely to continue for a while.
Oh, yeah. And keep a lot of attention on those companies, which could ultimately be good for the companies, because all news can be good news when it comes to a business getting that kind of press after the Super Bowl.
You always need to tell people what you don't like.
That's right.
Yeah, this one's not going away. We'll hear more about this one. All right, thanks, Sam.
Watching Race to Power. World leaders have arrived at the Munich Security Conference, from a changed world order to transatlantic ties in the West. The focus is on several key global issues. But outside the venue of this high-profile event, protests have been unfolding for more than one reason. Iranians in exile gathered near the security conference venue to protest against Iran's royalty in exile, Reza Pahlavi. Several thousand demonstrators called for an end to court dictatorship in Iran and called for a democratic establishment for Iran's people.
We are here today because we are against mullahs and the Shah. We staged a revolution in 1979 and then drove the dictator out of Iran. We celebrated big time that day because the dictator was gone, and we don't want to replace one dictator with another.
Global energy security has not just emerged as a diplomatic issue, but also a reason of protest in Munich. Greenpeace staged a demonstration as well with inflatables of Trump and Putin to protest Europe's energy dependence on America and Russia. Activists at the rally pushed for the continent's independence in the energy sector to decrease pressure from the US president on European countries.
Europe's strength depends on our energy security. The EU is importing more and more fracking gas from the US that is making us vulnerable to pressure from Trump. This is why Greenpeace is taking action today here in Munich, because whenever we're talking about security, we also have to talk about energy sovereignty. Only renewables keep Europe independent.
Vinimos a protestar por lo obvio, a defender lo obvio, que son los derechos laborales que nos quiere arrebatar el gobierno de Javier Milei, que lamentablemente con la complicidad de los gobernadores en esa Cámara de Lores están pactando la entrega más grande de los últimos 70, 80 años de la Argentina. ¿Con qué nos encontramos acá? Con la misma respuesta de siempre. Ajuste, bala, represión, que es la única forma que tiene este gobierno de resolver los problemas o de profundizarlo en ese sentido.
The United States is sending a second aircraft carrier to the Middle East. This comes amid high tensions with Iran over its nuclear program. The USS Gerald R. Ford will be coming to the Middle East. Right now it's in the Caribbean, where it had taken part in military operations there that saw the Americans seize former Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro and bring him to the United States to face charges. Now, the Ford is the world's biggest aircraft carrier, and it will move alongside the USS Abraham Lincoln, which has been in the region for some time now. Trump has threatened to use force against Iran should it not reach a deal with him over its nuclear program. He's also warned Iran that he's willing to use force if it kills peaceful protesters or conducts mass executions of those detained, since Iran heavily cracked down on those nationwide protests last month. This all comes as these talks between the United States and Iran seem for the moment to be at a stall. There had been some thought from Trump especially that there would be more talks, but they didn't materialize this week, and we did see a top Iranian security official move from Oman and Qatar to U.S. intermediaries in those talks without any move towards returning to the negotiating table. All this comes as Gulf Arab countries in the region have warned that any military action could lead to a regional war.
He also believes that the U.S. should own at least half of the bridge, have shared authority over what passes across it, and participate in the economic benefits generated by its use. This is just another example of President Trump putting America's interests first, and so he made that very clear in his call with Prime Minister Carney.
A new nuclear shadow is spreading across West Asia. Turkey is now warning that if Iran moves closer to a bomb, Ankara may not stay out of the race. US warns Saudi Arabia could follow suit. The United States is holding talks with Iran in Oman, but also keeping military options on the table. And Israel, long suspected of having nuclear weapons, remains at the center of regional fears. This is no longer just about Iran. This is about a chain reaction that could ignite a full-blown nuclear arms race in West Asia. We tell you what is unfolding.
The warning signs are growing louder and more dangerous. Turkey has delivered a stark message. Ankara does not want a nuclear arms race, but may be forced into one if threats escalate. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan suggested that Turkey would begin developing nuclear weapons if Iran obtains them. The balance of power in West Asia is already fragile, and if one nation gets nukes, then it could trigger a region-wide nuclear domino effect. At the heart of this fear is Iran's nuclear program. The United States is trying to curb Tehran's ambitions, with talks underway in Oman and more rounds expected ahead. With all fingers pointing at Iran's nuclear ambitions, Tehran has time and again maintained that it harbors no ambitions to acquire a nuclear weapon. Iran says that it is ready to cooperate with international agencies for verification of its nuclear facilities.
We are not seeking nuclear weapons. We have announced this over and over that we are ready for any verification. It's the tall wall of distrust that America and Europe have built with their words that stops the talks from leading to results.
But Washington's message is clear. Iran cannot have nuclear weapons.
Nuclear weapon. You know who gets a nuclear weapon like the next day? The Saudi Arabians, and then somebody else in the Gulf Arab state. And so you have nuclear proliferation on a global scale, the biggest threat to security in the world.
And this is where the most dangerous question emerges. Would more nuclear powers create stability through mutual deterrence, or would it turn West Asia into a nuclear flashpoint? Some analysts argue that a nuclear weapon is the ultimate deterrent and would stop the threat of war, but others warn the exact opposite, that more nukes mean increased risks. There is another dimension too. The United States and Saudi Arabia signed an initial civil nuclear cooperation agreement in November 2025, but lawmakers in Washington are sounding alarms that this must not open a pathway to enrichment or weapons capability. Meanwhile, Turkey is pointing directly at Israel, accusing it of possessing nuclear weapons, a claim Israel neither confirms nor denies. Adding to the complexity is that Turkey hosts American nuclear warheads at the Incirlik Air Base under NATO arrangements, even though Ankara has no authority to use them. West Asia is already a volatile region. There are various regional powers jostling to power. Now the shadows of a nuclear bomb is only complicating the regional equations.
I will not hide from you that I expressed general skepticism regarding the quality of any agreement with Iran. But I said that if an agreement is indeed reached, it must include elements that are very important to us, to Israel, and in my view, not only to Israel. It is not just the nuclear issue, it's also the ballistic missiles and the Iranian proxies.
Please.
Why does Prime Minister Netanyahu want you to stop negotiating with Iran?
He is, you're saying stop entertaining, stop talking to them? Didn't say that, we didn't discuss that. I'll talk to them as long as I like, and we'll see if we can get a deal with them, and if we can't, we'll have to go to phase two. Phase two will be very tough for them. I'm not looking for that.
Mr. President, there are currently 0 Israeli hostages left in Gaza because of you. Thank you for that. And now that the war is ending in Gaza and Israel, I wanted to ask, do you believe Bibi bears any responsibility for the security failures that we saw on October 7th?
Well, October 7th was a rough time, and I guess everybody's responsible. It's yet to look, but it was a terrible attack. It was a sneak attack. It was as violent as unfortunately, I've seen some of the results at levels that probably even you, good reporter, but probably you haven't seen. It was a horrible thing that took place. People were surprised. It was a surprise attack. Nobody saw that coming. He didn't see it coming. Nobody else would have seen it coming if they were in his position, I don't believe. But I can tell you he's been a very good wartime prime minister. He's been very strong. We've worked with him very well. We had tremendous success with Iran and everything else we've done. And he really has been. He's been, extraordinary as far as a wartime prime minister. Not easy. And, you have a president that refuses to give him a pardon. I think that man should be ashamed of himself. A pardon over this trial that's going on. The president of Israel, the primary power he's got is the power to give pardons. And he's not, he said he's given it 5 different times, but he doesn't want to do it because I guess he loses his power. I think the people of Israel should really shame him. He's disgraceful for not giving it. He should give it. But Bibi's been a great wartime prime minister, and I've been the best friend to Israel I think that they've ever had. A lot of people say beyond presidents that they've ever had, and we will continue to be.